Arsenal are not losers. But when will they finally be winners? Let us be honest with you. If you watched the Carabao Cup final on Sunday and felt something heavy sitting in your chest afterwards, you were not alone. Millions of Arsenal fans around the world sat in front of their screens, some at home, some in bars, some at Wembley itself, and felt that same thing, that familiar feeling, that feeling you cannot quite name, but you have felt before, that feeling of almost but not quite. Arsenal lost 2-0 to Manchester City. And yes, the scoreline hurt. But what hurt even more was the way it happened, not with a bang, but with a slow fade. A team that had been so strong for so long just sort of disappeared in the second half. It was like watching a fire go out. And if you are a true Arsenal fan, one who has followed this club through the highs and the very painful lows, you know exactly what we are talking about. But here is the thing. Before we dive into everything, we need to ask you something important. Do you really think this Arsenal team are losers? Because the numbers tell a very different story. And today on Olivia's Sports, we are going to break it all down for you. No complicated football jargon, no confusing tactics talk, just the truth, the facts, and a real honest conversation about where Arsenal are, where they have been, and most importantly, where they are going. The game that broke our hearts, the Carabao Cup final at Wembley, started with so much hope. Arsenal even went into it with a video on their social media, a little barbershop video with music and big statements. Things like, we are made for days like this, and this is the first big step. It felt good. It felt like this was the moment. And for the first few minutes, it looked like it could be. Arsenal started brightly. City goalkeeper James Trafford was forced into a triple save inside the first 6 minutes. The red side of Wembley was loud and full of belief. Then, slowly, it all changed. Between the 60th and 64th minute, City left-back Nico O'Reilly scored twice. Yes, twice in 4 minutes. Both goals came from crosses into the Arsenal box, and Arsenal could not deal with them. The first was partly the fault of backup goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga. The second came through sheer determination from O'Reilly, just a young player who wanted it more in that moment. That was it, 2-0. Game over. Arsenal went back into their shell. They did not push, they did not fight, they waited. And waiting is never good enough when you are chasing a game. The numbers do not lie. Now here is where we need to slow down and be fair, because the internet went crazy after the game. People were calling Arsenal bottlers, chokers, losers. Rival fans were singing second again, all. But let us look at the actual facts. That defeat was only Arsenal's fourth loss in 50 games in all competitions this season. Read that again. 4 losses out of 50 games. That is extraordinary. It was also their first loss in 7 meetings with Manchester City since a painful 4-1 defeat back in April 2023. And what about the other teams? Manchester City, the team that beat them on Sunday, have lost 9 of their 49 games this season. Liverpool have lost 14 of 47. Chelsea have lost 15 of 49, including their last 4 games in a row. Tottenham have lost 19 out of 45, including 7 of their last 9 games. So when someone calls Arsenal losers, the honest question back to them is, compared to who exactly? This is not a losing team. This is actually one of the most consistent teams in English football right now. They are not flaky. They are not soft. They are not the Arsenal of the old caricature that people love to mock. They're tough, they're organised, and they fight for every single point. But here is the honest truth too. Being consistent is not the same as being a winner, and winners end up with trophies. A record nobody wanted. There is a statistic from Sunday's final that hurt in a very specific way. Arsenal have now lost more League Cup finals in a row than any other team in history. 4 consecutive League Cup final defeats. That is a record, just not the kind anyone wants. And this is where the history gets really interesting, because Arsenal have been here before multiple times, and each time the aftermath has been painful in different ways. Cast your mind back to 2007. Arsenal reached the League Cup final with one of the youngest lineups ever seen in a professional English final. Arsene Wenger put out a team with an average age of 21. Theo Walcott, who was only 17, actually scored. but they were up against Jose Mourinho's Chelsea, a team full of world-class players at the peak of their powers. Arsenal lost and the season fell apart soon after. Then came 2011. This time, Arsenal were heavy favourites. They were playing Birmingham City, who sat 14th in the Premier League. Wenger named his strongest possible team. There was no excuse, and they still lost. Laurent Koscielny and goalkeeper Wojciech Szczesny got their wires crossed in the 89th minute, and substitute Obafemi Martins rolled the ball into an empty net. Just like that, Birmingham had beaten Arsenal in a major cup final. The fallout was brutal. Wenger's team won only 2 more games for the rest of the season. Their title hopes collapsed. They dropped from 2nd to 4th. The summer saw captain Cesc Fabregas leave for Barcelona and Samir Nasri leave for Manchester City. The whole thing crumbled. Then in 2018, City won 3-0. Arteta was actually in the opposing dugout that day, working as Pep Guardiola's assistant. He watched his future club get taken apart. And now here we are in 2026, and Arteta is the one in the Arsenal dugout, still watching his team fall short at the same stage. Are you seeing a pattern? Because we certainly are. And the question is, what does it mean? Is this different though? Here is where we want to challenge you a little bit, because it would be very easy to just lump this Arsenal team in with all the ones that came before, to say, here we go again and move on. But is that actually fair? Think about what Mikel Arteta has built at this club. He took over a team that was in absolute chaos. Arsenal were finishing 8th in the Premier League. The dressing room was unhappy. The fans were unhappy. The club felt like it was going backwards. And slowly, season by season, he has rebuilt it. He brought in William Saliba, who is now one of the best defenders in the world. He paired him with Gabriel to create one of the most solid defensive partnerships in English football. He made Arsenal hard to beat, really hard to beat, not in a boring way, but in a way that says we are going to compete in every single game. Arteta himself has spoken about learning from his mistakes. After that painful 4-1 loss at the Etihad in his first title challenging season, he made Arsenal more defensively solid. When an injury crisis ruined the 2024-25 season by exposing how thin the squad was, he went into the summer transfer window and fixed it. That is why this season they were in contention for all 4 trophies. The quadruple was a realistic possibility at the start of the final stretch. That is not an accident. That is a manager who studies, who improves, who does not make the same mistake twice. And yet here we are asking, is it enough? The City problem. Let us talk honestly about Manchester City, because they deserve credit for what they did on Sunday. What made the final so difficult for Arsenal was not just the 2 goals, it was the way City played. In the second half, City did something clever and slightly unusual. They stopped pressing Arsenal. They gave Kepa and the defenders time and space on the ball. But at the same time, they blocked every single passing lane. Every time Arsenal tried to play forward, the path was closed. Arsenal did not know how to handle it. They became passive. They became uncertain. They started going backwards instead of forward. And that is deeply unusual for this team, because being passive is not who they are. Manchester City looked, for the first time in 3 years, like they were a step ahead of Arsenal tactically. The intelligence of Bernardo Silva and Rodri in midfield, the clever movement of Rayan Cherki further forward, it all combined to throw Arsenal into confusion. Guardiola himself was surprised by how well his team performed. He said after the game that Arsenal are the best team in England this season, without any doubt about it. He said he could not believe his team could do what they did against that Arsenal team. Coming from Guardiola, that is not a small thing to say. But Nico O'Reilly was more direct. When asked by a television presenter whether City can smell blood now in the Premier League title race, he said yes, 100%. He said City have always smelled blood. He said Arsenal have to come to the Etihad, which he called a very tough place to visit. He called Sunday's result a big blow for Arsenal. That is the voice of a confident opponent, and Arsenal need to hear it. What happens next? So where do Arsenal go from here? First, the good news, the title race is still very much in their hands. They are 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League, 9 points. Even if City have a game in hand, that is still a big gap with only a few months of the season left. Arsenal also have 2 more cup competitions to play for. In the Champions League quarterfinals, they face Sporting CP of Portugal. In the FA Cup quarterfinals, they face Southampton. Both are winnable ties. Both are genuine opportunities for trophies this season. The bad news is that the trip to Manchester on April 19th is now enormous. If City win that game, they reduce the gap to 6 points with their game in hand. Suddenly, a 9-point lead becomes very fragile. And the Etihad Stadium, under those circumstances, with the whole city buzzing after winning the League Cup, is going to be one of the most intense atmospheres in English football this year. Arteta knows all of this. After the final, he spoke about using the defeat as fuel. He talked about having fire in the belly and turning it into the most amazing 2 months the team has ever had together. But words are easy. What matters is what happens on the pitch. The ghost of finals passed. There is a quote from former Arsenal defender Bakary Sagna that has been floating around again since Sunday from before the 2011 League Cup final. Sagna talked about previous Arsenal teams and how when they got close to winning something, they got scared and stopped playing. He said they waited for the result to happen instead of going out and getting it. Then Arsenal went out and did exactly that. They choked in the final minute against Birmingham. Now, this Arsenal team are genuinely different from that one. The Arteta side are not fragile. They are not lacking physical toughness. They are built on a rock-solid defence and a clear identity. Nobody can honestly say this team folds under pressure the way those old Arsenal teams did. But watching the second half on Sunday, there were moments that felt uncomfortable, not the old-fashioned Arsenal fear, but a kind of loss of momentum, a retreat into safety, a passive quality that is very unlike them. What changed at halftime? What happened between the bright start and the quiet surrender of the second half? These are the questions Arteta will be asking himself this week. And here is the big question we want to put to you in the Olivia's sports community. Do you think this Arsenal team have what it takes mentally to win the big prize? Have you seen enough from them this season to believe that the League Cup final was just a bad day, or does it reflect something deeper? The trophy that started it all. It is worth remembering one important detail. Arsenal have won trophies before under difficult circumstances. In the 2014 FA Cup final, they were 2-0 down against Hull City inside the first 8 minutes. 2-0 down inside 8 minutes. Most teams would have fallen apart. Arsenal came back to win 3-2 after extra time in one of the most dramatic FA Cup finals in modern history. Arteta, who was the captain that day, has said that winning the FA Cup helped the team truly believe. He said it made them feel, wow, I want to experience more of these moments. That is what a first trophy does. It opens a door. It tells you that you can do it. And for this Arsenal team who have not won a major trophy since 2020, that door is still waiting to be opened. The Premier League is the biggest one, the one that has been waiting for 22 years. Winning it would be enormous, historic, unforgettable. But they have to earn it, not just with performances in the easy games, but in the hard ones. At the Etihad on April 19th, in the Champions League, in the FA Cup, the moments where it truly matters. What this season tells us, let us bring it all together. Arsenal in 2025-26 are a team that have done almost everything right. They are 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League with only a couple of months left. They are in the quarterfinals of both the Champions League and the FA Cup. They have lost only 4 games all season. They have one of the best defensive partnerships in Europe. They have a manager who learns and adapts and improves. They are also a team that just suffered a painful, flat, confusing loss in a cup final that they were expected to either win or at least compete in properly. Both of those things are true at the same time, and that is what makes this Arsenal story so interesting, so real, so human. Nobody is pretending they are perfect. The fans know it, the players know it, Arteta knows it. But the question is not whether Arsenal are perfect. The question is whether they can handle the next 8 weeks with everything that is riding on them. The rivals are watching, the gap can close, the pressure is real. The outro, this is Arsenal's moment. We want to leave you with this. Every club has a moment, a season where everything lines up, where the squad is right, the manager is right, the confidence is right, and all it takes is one final push. One refusal to go backwards, one willingness to grab the moment with both hands and not let go. For Arsenal, that moment is right now. Not next season, not in 2 years, not after another rebuild, right now in the spring of 2026 with 9 points in hand and 3 trophies still to play for. The Carabao Cup is gone. That hurt. Let it hurt. Let the players feel it. Let the staff feel it. Let the fans feel it. That is okay. That is football. The emotion is real and you are allowed to be disappointed. But do not let it become a story about Arsenal always falling short. Do not let it become another chapter in the book of almost, because this team are better than that. Arteta is better than that. Saliba and Gabriel and Odegaard and the rest of them are better than that. This is the season. This is the team. This is the moment. The only question left is this: are they going to take it? Tell us what you think in the comments. Do you believe Arsenal will win the Premier League this season? Do you think the Carabao Cup final loss will affect them mentally going forward? And do you think Arteta is the right man to finally deliver that long-awaited title? We want to hear from every single one of you in the Olivia Sports community. This is your space to talk football. Let us talk.